Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to take a look at the Argo ATLS, Star Citizen's first power loader slash mech. And this is a very exciting addition to the game. CIG essentially teased this and then dropped it to PTU and gave us the ability to take a look at it ourselves. Now, initially they said that this would be available to Evo Cardi, but it is also available to Wave 1 testers. I am personally not Evocati, but I did have access to this in PTU. And what you're seeing right now behind me is footage from my first time playing around with this thing. I essentially took a cargo mission with the C1 and attempted to use it with that mission. And I want to give you guys my first impressions with this little mech suit vehicle, Star Citizen's first, and kind of talk about its place in the game. Now, to kick things off right at the top, this thing is awesome. This thing is very exciting, and I'm glad that CIG implemented it. Now, one of the things that you could kind of see was, one of the possible causes for this was a lot of people were saying uh, Jared made an Inside Star Citizen where essentially there was this scene that the motion capture team took where a presumed player was holding the large handheld multi-tool and they were holding a ship back, and this was obviously just for comedic effect. But a lot of people say that that was impossible because the mass of the ship is so much greater than the person. There's no way they'd be able to hold it back, even with a tractor beam slash gravity gun. So this is kind of the answer to that. This thing is a more realistic way of a person managing the type of mass that some of these boxes have. And I think it is incredibly immersive. If you look at some of the animations of entering and exiting this mech, they're very polished. I think CAG did a good job there. Now, it's not perfect. There is a few issues, and we're going to get into that into this video. Okay, so I want to talk about kind of some of the downsides and some of the positives with this thing, because a lot of people are saying that CIG should make all tractor beams like this thing's tractor beam. And if you guys don't know, this thing has a bespoke and unique tractor beam. If you go into the mobiGlas, it has a slot for paints, it has a slot for utility, and it has slots for 2 size 1 weapons. But I don't know if that is specific to this. That might be a bug or placeholder for another variant in the future. This is PTU, so it's not really set in stone, and I'm not sure. So I don't want to say that those things will be in when this goes live. Um, but essentially, this bespoke tractor beam acts different than other tractor beams. The way it works, as you could see in this video behind me, is that when you select an item or box, it pulls that item or box towards the suit and kind of holds it over the suit. And then you pick the location of where you want to put the item through the preview, and it places that item there. The major downside with this is that if there's anything obstructing the path of that item, it will kind of bump into the, whatever is around it, and there will be some weird physics stuff. And I saw a lot of that in kind of doing this mission. So if you're using a smaller ship like the C1, like the Cutlass, like the Valkyrie, they have smaller openings at the back where the ceiling clearance is low enough that the box will hit the top of the opening of the back ramp. Okay, or it might obstruct your visuals of where you can place the box down. Okay, again, it's not the end of the world, but it is something to consider. This way of doing things is designed for efficiency and speed, not really accuracy. So that's kind of the two differences, because you can't control where the beam goes. With the handheld multi-tool, you're directly controlling its distance, its movement. You can scroll wheel forward and backwards, and you can kind of avoid these things. So uh I guess I would say the a good example is the Vulture. Okay, you guys know I do a lot of salvage, and in the back of the Vulture, it is a very tight space, a very tight space. You guys know I want a larger salvaging ship. I want CG to release that, but something like this, where the box kind of is hovered above the player while they're picking the location, that isn't going to be efficient in the workflow in the back of Vulture. And it's difficult because if you're putting boxes outside of the grid, that can be a little bit difficult. It's not impossible. Obviously, it shows you green and you can put boxes down wherever you want. It's not kind of, uh, locked down to just cargo grids. You could put items wherever you want, but it will bump into things. And that's a problem in a very confined space like the Vulture. So in these smaller ships, you're going to want a handheld tool, something that is more precise that you can maneuver in these smaller spaces. So at the end of the day, it is a good thing to have both. Options is a good thing. Okay. Um, you want to be able to be fast in a suit like this and be precise with the handheld multi-tool. So we definitely don't want all tractor beams to be like this tractor beam, but it is a good tractor beam for certain situations, for these larger ships that have larger cargo holds, and you're moving so many boxes. Again, in the C1, uh it's okay. In the C2, this is so much faster because the C2 has a lot more space, and you could just stand at the back of the ramp and load boxes in and out. In the C1, it bumps into stuff. Okay, not that you can't use it with a C1. It's just the gains in speed is not as much as in a C2. In a C1, on the other hand, you're faster than this power suit on foot. So presumably, once you place the box down, you could turn the tractor beam off and run back over. And realistically, the you might not gain as much time. Again, I haven't really tested them out side by side, but in both scenarios, it took me about 10 minutes round trip to do a mission with in this thing and with the handheld multi-tool. So you're not really gaining a huge amount of time using this with a smaller ship. Using this again with a bigger ship, with these bigger cargo missions, this thing is a must have. Okay. But again, it's situational. Okay. So right now, there are a few other little issues where when you go to the back ramp, it kind of like feels like it hits a wall. I don't know why that happens. Um, but you can stand at the end of the back ramp and just place the boxes in. And kind of the last little issue is the Moby glass doesn't really work when you're in this thing. I don't really see that as too much of a problem because again, your hand is in the arm of this thing, as you can see here. So you really wouldn't have access to it. And it's kind of like, using your phone while operating a giant cat bulldozer or something like that. You really shouldn't be using your phone and looking at that stuff when you're operating heavy equipment. Okay. So again, I think that is the most of it kind of makes sense. I do like that. I think that realistically, there are a ton of use cases for this thing. I could see people using this in base building, placing down turrets, placing down shield barriers, placing down, mining things because of the way the tractor beam works. Again, you're not scrolling to put this item down. You can essentially just pick it up, put it wherever you want. So when it comes to placing things around in base building, there might be a larger version of this that is, dedicated to putting buildings down. Again, people are talking about combat versions that have, Gatling guns and different things, salvage versions, mining versions. I feel like this is a new vehicle archetype that CIG just unlocked, okay? And I'm really glad that they were able to get this in the game, get this into players' hands, and allow us to test it out, okay? So I think this is great. This is right up my alley. Again, you guys know I like mechs, big fan of the Gundam series, and I think that they kind of knocked it out of the park on this thing. I'm also a big industrial player, cargo, salvage, and so I think that I definitely want a larger salvage ship now so I can use this with that. Again, I really don't think you can use this with the Vulture in a meaningful way. It just takes up too much space, and with the boxes in that confined space, it's, you know, kind of an uphill battle there. You're really going to want a multi-tool for that. But in a larger salvaging ship with a larger cargo bay, this thing could be really exciting. You know, maybe have a the kind of salvage beam on one end and the tractor beam on the other hand, and then you can kind of maneuver different things and do different things in the cargo. Maybe a crafting ship, I don't know. This thing just unlocks a lot of possibilities, in my opinion. And you know, you're probably seeing a lot of content, other content creators taking a look at it. It is very cool. It's very exciting for that. Um, but yeah, I want to know what you guys think about this thing. Were you able to test it out in PTU? Again, if you are Wave 1, you do have access to this thing. You do not have to be Evocati. I am not Evocati. So I think that's a good thing that CIG opened that up to more players. Um, uh, what do you guys think? Have you been using this? People have been testing it. They've been dropping it out of ships. Right now, it is invulnerable again because it's PTU. We don't know if, you know, that's gonna stay in. You know, yeah, it does not have EVA thrusters. So if you you know, want to take this thing into space, it's just gonna kind of sit there. I think other variants might eventually, you know, have EVA thrusters and different features. And again, you can kind of see me testing out how it kind of snaps boxes in there in the background. But yeah, that's pretty much it. That's gonna be pretty much it for me in this video, you guys. You guys know what I always say at the end of these videos. Like the video if you liked it. Subscribe if you want to see more. And I will see you guys in the next one. Salute.